Hello everybody, yes, we are back again. Video is good. Let me see, I need to move things a little bit. I still have some trouble with the keyboard. As you can see, it's very fuzzy. So I'm not sure what is causing it. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Maybe it's the position of the webcam. It has been better. So maybe it's the software. I don't know. It's strange. Point is, you have a little control over it, but it's very minimal. Oh. Yeah, just one sound for Predator 3 from the Maac Bank. I should say it. Okay, I hope everybody is well, and we have a lot of rain in the Netherlands. Very cold now. It's what it is. It's winter, so we have to handle that. Hopefully I don't catch another cold like last year. Last year I had a very nasty cold. It lasted for weeks. For some reason it had a kind of hold pedal to it. So okay. As mentioned last week, we are working on Raw 2, which is planned for being released at the start of next year, together with an extra plugin, which I don't reveal yet, of course. And of course, we have some more cool stuff going on. I see some people dropping in the chat room. Everybody, welcome. I see Gad. I see Tom Aldrich. Cool. Johan, yeah. So, yeah, Raw is, of course, pretty much focused on the hardstyle dance music, EDM, hardstyle, hardcore dance. It has some interesting idea, and we went with Raw 2 to another level. Of course, Raw 2 will get this disrupt sphere, which you know from a BIT-2, which I think is a fantastic new thing we added to our plugins. Let me see what I see. I should make the keyboard a little bit smaller. 1 second. A little bit too big on the screen. Oh, yeah, but that makes that you can see me playing. So the disrupt sphere, or in this case, in the synthesizers, we call it a ribbon controller, which has a center position. You see, it goes back to the center position. That's the cool thing we added to the products recently, to the instruments, because it's a very cool thing. So if you have a sound, you can open the filter. Or go downwards. And of course, we call this, if you would take the delay, DelSane, for instance, if we would go here to a up sound, I shut down the delay here, and I go to the insert, and I would take the DelSane, and you will see that we call this in DelSane, we call this the disrupt sphere. So DelSane, which is the coolest delay on this planet. Here we have a delay. And it disrupts it. Yeah, it changes. Of course, you can increase that. So you have the disrupt sphere, and down here you have all the controls, which changes. In this case, it changes the band pass of the high pass filter and the feedback. I can make it a little bit more. And then you see. Hear the difference? Normal. And this makes that you can address this very cool in your music. You can record it as a parameter, of course, and this is the disrupt sphere, which was initially the first idea we did in the DelSane, and it makes that you get a really very cool. So this is cool for any music which has dynamic changes, house music, psytrance, or maybe even a regular pop song could use DelSane because it's absolutely fantastic. It has a basic delay, but also does a lot of weird stuff. Even on the vowel. So I have a vowel delay. So DelSane, absolutely insane for your music. Everybody should have it. Really fantastic. Yeah, BIT-2, you also could do the same here, simply by saying, okay, I have a delay here. And then you set the ribbon controller. You simply say ribbon controller. You have here the modulation source. Then you pick ribbon. And you say control the FX. So you can say still do some stuff which is essentially also inside the trick I do with DelSane. You can do inside BIT-2 yourself. Delay feedback and ribbon again. Let me see. I'll go modulation again, ribbon again. And I pick then again here the delay and then the mix. Are you kidding me? Where's the mix? Oh, here. You see, so you can do the cool things also in BIT-2. Creativity is unlimited with these kind of things. So the ribbon controller in BIT-2, I think we introduced this in BIT-2, has a two-way of working. You can have it bipolar, which makes that you can make it go to the right, goes back to the center, or go down. So it essentially, you hear that it closes the filter if you go to the left, and it closes the delay. And if you go to the right, it opens the delay and opens the filter. Almost dry, isn't it? So yeah, the options are endless. And you can record this as a parameter, this ribbon controller. And you see here, bipolar means that you also can say, okay, only move one direction. And then it goes back to the left, from left to right. So this is more a ribbon controller, which you would see, let's see here on the, for instance, on the complete control. So that's the normal ribbon controller. And if you click bipolar, you have middle. And then the bipolar is a bit cooler because you can go two directions in terms of changing the sound. And the spring back feature, you can put it off, but you also can make a different timing. I set it to half a bar, so it goes back in half a bar tempo. So you have a very smooth changes to the sound. Okay, so now I put it on a nice dirty sound with a low pass filter combined with a band pass filter. So this ribbon controller with its features, you also will find early next year in RAW 2. Isn't that cool? So here we have the original RAW. And RAW 2 can do a lot of things which are different. So it's really based on the input from of the DJs in the way they work. So they took, for instance, an oscillator. Oops, that's a nasty sound. So go to a default preset. I think it's the last one. Yeah, the original RAW still uses the original bank system. So each bank has 128 presets, just like a hardware machine. Now this is the, if you take a sinus waveform, the RAW does the, I asked John, because in the manual it doesn't mention, it only mentions distortion, but I forgot, is it now phase distortion what we added here? I think it is, or wave shaping, but I think it's phase distortion. So you see, from a sinus waveform, it makes a totally different waveform. And then, if you have that, there is distortion in the, so let me put in the filter, which is the pre-filter distortion. And then you also have the EQ, so you can put a EQ which is pre-EQ, which is ahead of the wave shaper, distortion model, and lo-fi. Of course, I need to set it on. So you can make it very dirty. Using the wave shaper. Lo-fi. And then afterwards, you have a post-EQ. So even after the distortion, you can EQ. So you can go very wild with distortion. So the distortion is inside the filter section here with the distortion dial. It's inside the oscillator, the raw amount, and then you have an EQ ahead of wave shaper, distortion, and lo-fi. So you can totally go wild. So there are many presets in RAW, which are very often DJs, which created very edgy sound. From DJ Hidden, so all kind of breezes. And of course, as long as RAW is still there, so that we have a very nice deal on RAW currently. If you purchase RAW, you get a free upgrade to RAW 2 once it has been released. So you still have then 2 of them. Are you adding more waveforms to RAW 2? That's a good question. I think we do. That's a good one. I need to check that. Because indeed we have the basic waveforms, because essentially by changing here the raw amount, it already does a lot of distortion. Good question, Tom. I think we did. I cannot upload RAW 2 because otherwise you see this ugly mock-up version, which is not nice to look at. Although we have the RAW 2, essentially, let me see. Let me think if I could see. Yeah, maybe I can show you RAW too, essentially. I think I have an image, pictures. I need to go to the left side. Um, I need to check it out. Hmm. Ah. Not really. I only have the easy page. Most likely this is no, and that's also the wrong one. So no, it's too small. Let me see. Maybe next week I will show you, because essentially the graphics are ready. John is putting the graphics into code, and then we do the last phase, which is then creating presets. But it's not only for edgy sounds. As mentioned, then we have artists who did preset banks for us. Really detuned. Yeah, you see, each time I hit the wrong button because the manager is here, and now we have in most places we have it more on the right hand side. But it's DJ Terra. So in the original Raw, D Passion, Death Machine, all known, and Vitral, Ophidian, and Mender. Yeah, so very cool producers. The Viper, of course, a legendary producer also. Yeah, so there is plenty new stuff in Raw 2. The other plugin, I cannot mention anything about it. Maybe in December I will show you something about the new plugin, which is going to be exciting as well. And we have then also some nice sound sets, which will be part of the Explorer 10 early next year. And so we are very hard working on some cool products. Yeah, well, today I had no subject, so everything that comes to the table, if you have a question or maybe a suggestion, Rob, uh, what is things you could explain for me, just ask me a question. So this is Raw, working on Raw 2. Maybe an idea is, let's go to BIT-2, because we started with BIT-2 today. And you notice that I made some very nice Jupiter 8 pads. You know, the Jupiter 8 is in the background. Here it is, this classic baby. And the way I create the pad sounds in Predator 2, Predator 3, Blue, all are based on the way I did it on the Jupiter 8. So if you go here to pads, you have then Jupiter 8 dual pad 1, 2, and 3. So I made even 3 variations. And what I did with the Jupiter 8 is 8 voice, but you can stack 2 layers. So for instance, one layer was a pad sound, but I had a little bit different cutoff frequency for left and right. And I made that you have only 4 voices, but you had a very nice wide pad sound. Well, lucky enough, BIT-2 is 16 voice, and even having 2 filters left-right doesn't matter. You still... So this is pad 1. Of course, the original Jupiter has no delay, but I put a delay on this one. This one... Pad 3. Yeah, some Jupiter pads here. Oh, this one, type 1. And pad 2. That's a nice one. Yeah, the advanced panel, you see here there's a readout. Good question. So let's make a pad sound with the BIT-2, how I would create it from a default patch. So I go to the deduction bank, I take default patch. Now, what is the fun part with BIT-2 compared to other recreations of classical analog machines? So I'm not into recreating a standard classic analog machine because then I would limit it myself down. So my goal was with BIT-2 to have the analog feel, the virtual analog feel of it. So I took as inspiration my analog gear, but then took it to 2023 because we live now in a different age. So I did not limit myself down in terms of features. Still, if you look at BIT-2, you see there are not that many pages, so it's very user-friendly. You only have here this advanced page, and its advanced page makes it also very cool because it makes that each oscillator has its own LFO, so you don't need the patch. It has its own LFO. The LFO here can be used for other stuff. So the LFO here can be used for volume, tuning, modulation. So if I tick here saw wave, I go here in tuning or volume. And you see here a little ring, which means that there is some modulation active on tuning. And you see a little ring around volume. You see, oh, okay, if I double click, the amount is 0. And then the outer ring disappears. So if you see a little ring around it, like here, there is this is used. Well, the same goes for an envelope. So also each oscillator has its own envelope, which you can use on pitch. Or you can use it on symmetry. And symmetry, that's interesting. If you use it on a square, get a little bit of a fuzzy sound. So look here what the square waves does. You see, it goes from narrow to a normal. And in the past, I made the fuzz sounds. I always use this feature to control the symmetry by an envelope. You get a little bit of a guitar fuzz sound. So this, in each oscillator, has its own LFO, its own envelope, which makes that you don't have to use the modulation matrix. It's already very advanced. And for making a pad sound, on a Jupiter, I use pulse width modulation, which means that there is a square waveform modulated by an LFO. Well, the LFO we have here, and I do change the symmetry. So pulse width modulation you see on a Jupiter 8 or a Juno 60, because essentially this whole modulation was also only connected to the square waveform, because if you connect it to saw, really doesn't sound good. So symmetry is essentially the same name for if you have a square wave for doing pulse width modulation. So let's start. Well, and if you go back to click here on the advance, and then you see what the waveform does. Goes from narrow to small. This is a typical Juno type of sound. So if I go back to of course, how much you do it has influence on the sound. Just too deep or too fast. for making a pad sound, I'll make it 1 octave higher. And I go to the second oscillator. And the second oscillator, take the same square waveform. And also there, I use the built-in LFO for symmetry modulation. Well, here you see also free. And free means that the LFO doesn't re-trigger. If I put off free, it is polyphonic. Hear the difference? So each note has its own. So with free off, it is a multiple oscillator, but it re-triggers each time you press a note. I use free because that makes it more swirly. Well, now I have then 2 oscillators, and to make this nice pad sound, I make this one also 1 octave higher. Then, of course, I have to play both. Okay. Put oscillator on. And you see, well, the tuning is too much, too nice. So what I could do here is detune a little bit the second oscillator. I go +5 and I go with the other one -5, so that it's in the middle they are detuned. Now it starts to get a little bit like a pad sound. So of course, the pad sound means that you need a slow attack. So I already have a bit of a pad sound, but it's in the detail, guys. So I go back to oscillator 1. Okay, I tuned it a little bit, and what I do with the second oscillator, I also tune it a little bit. But make it a little bit slower. So now it starts getting more swirly. Another thing I can do is to make a kind of swirly sound between 2 oscillators, to say also to one oscillator, make it also on the detuning, the LFO. I use the same LFO, but also then on the tuning. So let's play it and listen very carefully. That's too much. But if you do this a tiny bit, then it makes it again fuller. Okay, I can use the shift, so very small details, or I do only. So the same I could do here. Make it very minimal. So you see in the upper readout, here is the readout. I use the shift of the computer keyboard, so I do only a little tiny bit of modulation and the first oscillator. Okay, so this is already not bad at all. So now second thing would be the filters, and with pad sounds I always use 12 dB because 12 dB leaves over more upper harmonics, which makes the sound a bit more soft toned. Still dry sound, eh? Keep in mind this is still a dry sound, so I'll make it a little bit. More mellow. And the trick would be then, of course, to say, make it stereo left, right. And for this, I had to stack 2 presets with the JP-8, which is not needed here. I can say, okay, oscillator split. This makes that oscillator 1 goes into oscillator 2, and oscillator 1 goes in filter 1, and oscillator 2 goes in filter 2. So I pick here in the, I would pick here a different filter type. By the way, filter type 2 I like to use. And then I go left, right. and then a bit less stereo. And then I can tune here. Still dry. Not bad, isn't it? Now, and then I could fine tune it with a bit more release. Jupiter doesn't have a chorus. I could use it, but what would be nice is to give it a little bit of delay. Now, keyboard tracking I did not use, so okay. So then you have a pad sound. So okay, let me save this one. Maybe you would say, I know you have the other pad sounds in the pads bank, but I still want to have this one. So let me save this one. Then I go save preset in folder. I have my Rob Live folder, and then I will simply say this 88 pad. And why it's called an 88 pad? Because today my dad became 88 years old. So I thought, that's cool. 88 pad. Nice, isn't it? So you see, that's essentially how this type of pad sound, by using the symmetry modulation, you can make a fuller sound. And that's also what they use in the Juno 60. And somebody mentioned from the Vogelsvliegen van Oost naar West-Berlin, a very nice song by a Dutch band. And they also use the Juno 60, that's correct. So if it would be more a Juno 60 sound, I need to shut down the second filter, only one oscillator, and use the chorus. Also nice. So so now it's back mono again. I think the original one. So this is more Juno pad with delay on it. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the birthday wishes of my dad. Yeah, 88 he is. Quite a achievement. Cool guys. Yeah, cool. Yeah, what you also can do, I see page 1, 2, 3. What you always can do is look at a preset and look what is going on. Of course, it's a bit more complicated. Do reverse engineering, but I think this helps a little bit. And I should save this one also. Go call this one save preset as media pad Juno. Okay, Juno. And of course I should not forget to add the modulation wheel, so maybe negative. Save. Is that? Yeah, and I should tag it, of course. Here's the manager. I should set category. Okay, it should be, of course, a pet sound, a spacey, long release, or long attack, polyphonic mode. Bright, I'm not sure. So, okay. And then I save this one. So this is the Juno. I'm not sure about the volume. Yeah, volume is okay. And the other one was this one. I just add the modulation wheel so that something is happening. To tag this one as well. So here we have pads, long attack, long release, polyphonic, save. And of course I could make a variation of this one, which is then the 88 pad. Okay, let me call this 88 pad, rename Jupiter. Yeah, make it then a over the top one with using the chorus. Let me see. I also could do the unison. Oh, two voice. Yeah, this one is a little bit over the top, or I could say octave could be an idea. I like it essentially without unison. And just the chorus. I call this down save preset as bad. Chorus. I don't think that the word chorus fits. See. Oh, it fits. Okay, so I will make these three for you downloadable. So we have then 88 Juno pad, 88 pad Jupiter chorus, and the Jupiter. And you hear clearly the difference. So you really hear the difference between this one is a bit more flatter, still has delay, and with the chorus is then more swirly. And then you have, of course, the Juno, which uses only one oscillator. Which reminds me, I only use one oscillator, so I need the fine-tuning set to 0, otherwise it's a little bit out of tune. So I need to save it again. Save preset. Okay, guys, let's see. Yeah. Yeah, my mother passed away in 2022, sadly. My dad is still here. Cubase 14. Yes, I did not have the time to download, but I want to test it, of course. What should happen is that in case you have a song which uses the VST2, it should automatically pick the VST3 then. So, but I did not test myself, but I see that Gerd Brown's tested it and it seems to be okay. Good news. Here we had no other reports, so that's good news. Excuse me. Yeah, so today I'm a little bit earlier out. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. It's a shorter one than regularly, because I need to go out still. And I also have a bit longer song for you guys. We had a song from Deeplastik again, which is a professional producer, and he does mention, so we are still in some minutes here. 1 second. He does say, I have used Predator 3, Blue 3, Blue 2, and BIT-2, top plugins he mentioned. I hope you like it and you can use it in your next video on Tuesday. So that's cool. Deeplastik, I have in the description box, I have a link to his homepage. Give it a check out, and we're going to listen to this song. He calls it Papen Groove Original Mix MP3. So Predator 3, Blue 3, Blade 2, and BIT-2 are appearing. Enjoy it, and we'll see each other next week in another live stream. And then maybe I already can show you the user interface from Raw 2. But let's first enjoy from Deeplastik, the Papen Groove.